Here we are. Hi, everybody. We're prepping our kitchen as we speak. Welcome to Blaze Baking with Rach on a special episode on a Friday afternoon with Shannon Sarna. We are making challah. We're actually braiding challah. The dough has already been prepped. So welcome to A Mighty Blaze. For those of you who are new to the baking show, welcome. I'm Rachel Levy Lesser, the host of the baking show. I love to write and I love to bake, hence the show. I interview cookbook authors, novelists, memoirists. And today we have Shannon Sarna. I'm going to read her bio so you'll know all the wonderful things about her. And she is back from traveling on her book tour, back in her home kitchen, getting everything out, getting ready to go. So let me just read this. We'll get the formal part over with, and then we're going to have some fun. So Shannon Sarna is the founding editor of The Nosher, the widest reaching website dedicated to Jewish food, which is part of 70 Faces Media Group. Shannon grew up in upstate New York, immersed in performance and music, as well as surrounded by diverse culinary experiences. Her Sicilian American mother loved to bake. Her Ashkenazi Jewish father loved to experiment. And her grandfather was a food chemist who patented tang. That brings back memories, among other products. Her writing and recipes have been featured in Bake From Scratch magazine, Taste of Home magazine, Parade magazine, Food 52, The Kitchen, Tablet magazine, JTA News, New Jersey Monthly magazine, Vine Pair, and Modern Loss. I've written for Modern Loss too, and another one of our small world connections. She graduated from Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts with a degree in comparative government and Spanish language and literature, and lives in South Orange, New Jersey, with her husband, 3 children, 2 rescue dogs, and a bunny named S'mores. She's a busy lady. Her first cookbook, Modern Jewish Baker, Challah, Babka, Bagels, and More, was released in September 2017 by Countryman Press. And her second book, which we're going to talk about today, Modern Jewish Comfort Food, just came out in August. Here is this beautiful book, which I love. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm sorry it took us so long to finally do this.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, we were talking before. Shannon hosts a wonderful podcast with Jordana, who I know, and it's just like such a small world, Jewish geography, I guess, and baking geography and writing geography and all that good stuff.
I was just in Montreal, and it's like really so amazing in the Jewish community. It's just such a small world, and so many people know one another, and it's a really nice way to really be reminded of that connectedness that we have, you know?
Yeah. And we just found out we have another connection offline of a wonderful baker and cook and writer too. So small world. It's all good. Yeah. We're our own little niche, I guess. So I'm excited today. I mean, I guess before we get braiding, because we are going to get braiding the challah, I just kind of wanted to ask you about this book, your newest book. I love it. Modern Jewish Comfort Food. By the way, I see that it's dedicated to Bubby Phoebe, and I think that it's her birthday today. Is that right?
Yeah, it was her birthday yesterday, 98.
That's your grandmother?
Yeah, yes.
That's amazing. Yeah. So there's a lot of history in here, cultural and religious, and there's a lot of information. I'm wondering what inspired you to write Modern Jewish Comfort Food?
So I always want to be like, I don't know, my editor told me to. I think that what was a takeaway for me from Modern Jewish Baker was that the visuals, the step-by-step visuals in the book, and the tips that went beyond just the recipe were things that were really helpful for people who are home cooks and homemakers who wanted that sense of confidence to tackle projects that they might have been intimidated to do before. So that was something that I really wanted to carry through to what was going to be a more savory version of Modern Jewish Baker in format. It was a little harder to figure out which recipes to put together for this because, of course, there are so many. And I also wanted to showcase a greater diversity of recipes in this book. Through my work at The Nosher, I have really like the privilege and honor of being able to showcase so many stories and so many different kinds of Jewish foods. And I wanted to share a little bit of that in this next book. So it was really a combination of kind of like, how do we take what we did with Modern Jewish Baker and bring it into a savory realm, a greater array of foods, and also connect with people as we were, during a pandemic, I think people were really connecting more and reclaiming, in some senses, foods that they grew up with and had connection to, but maybe had never had the time or the inclination to tackle before. And so that's a little bit of what inspired this book.
It's awesome. And I love the confluence of modern Jewish with comfort food. One of my favorite recipes that I'm definitely going to make when my son is home from college, because it's mac and cheese kugel, because he loves kugel, he loves mac and cheese. I was like, how good is that? And like the funfetti manzel bread, was that fun, sort of combining the modern with the traditional Jewish food?
Yeah, I also think that's kind of what people expect from me, is like a little bit of the fun spin on things. And I always want to honor the traditions and give people the opportunity to learn some classics. But I also want to give people the sense that, you can have fun with these recipes, and you can make it the classic way, and you can make it the way that your family made it, but also like you can make it your own, and if sprinkles aren't your thing, or toffee isn't your thing, or mac and cheese isn't your thing, like there's other ways for you to add your own, ideas and spins and flavors that you like into these foods. I think that's very important, that people see themselves reflected in that.
I definitely did. And I showed this book to my husband. He's like, gotta make this, we gotta make this, we gotta make that. Like, it's very, very inspiring. So, and I read a lot of cookbooks, and I get sent a lot of cookbooks. So well done. So today we're going to focus on challah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the cool challahs you made, like sort of what you love about making challah and braiding challah and all that stuff?
Sure. I mean, challah is really my first love. When people ask, like, how did I sort of end up here, right? It's like, I don't have a journalism background, and I don't have a food background. I'm not a chef by any stretch.
Same.
It really started for me with my love of challah, and my love of kind of taking challah as a base point, like a jumping off point, and being able to bring my own mixed background into it. But there's nothing that I get more excited about than when I see people from so many diverse backgrounds bringing their own flavors and shaping into challah. I think it's such a beautiful thing, because challah, of course, is so sacred and so beloved. So I had worked a long time on this recipe that, I shared with you, just my basic challah recipe, which you can find in both of my books, Modern Jewish Baker and Modern Jewish Comfort Food. But you can also find online. It's actually featured on thekitchen.com. So, anyone can access it. I know we love challah.
I think we're going to have a link in our comments for the recipe on the
perfect. Good.
In the kitchen, but in the book, it's pictured in like little mini loaves.
Yeah.
Today we're going to do 2 loaves, right?
Yeah, I thought it would. Well, first of all, I wanted to show one of my favorite tips. So one of my favorite challah bakers, her name is Cheryl Herbert, and her Instagram is Nomad Bakery. She's based in New Hampshire. She's an unbelievable award-winning challah and bread baker. And she uses these big bags that she orders specially for baked goods to do her rise. And what it does is, like, it really it keeps in all the air, and it definitely creates a nice warm environment for rising. This, however, is not a fancy bag. This is a dry cleaner's bag. So if you have a dry cleaner bag hanging around, like, this is the perfect thing for it. And I made pita last weekend, and I used it for the same thing. So this is I had to include it in the book in some way, and I featured it both to go along with shakshuka, because it's how I had one of my most beloved shakshuka memories in Israel, was actually served with challah, not with pita. And then I also included it in my recipe for a McDonald's-inspired fish schnitzel sandwich. It is definitely it's one of my favorite recipes in the book, and this is what it looks like.
I'm telling you guys, for when you go buy the book, and we have link for it, it's like every page is a surprise. Like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah.
That's so nice.
I had the best time.
And I have to show you my absolute favorite photo in the book, just because, I am a Jewish mother.
Of course. Of your son.
Of my son. Let's see if I can find him. Who may join us at any moment. So I have to leave a little challah aside for him so he can So he can't. Wait, I thought it was page 91. I guess I got that wrong.
I think it is more towards the end. I'm not sure because when I saw that, I was like, "That's your son."
Oh, here it is. It's 119.
119.
This is my son. Look how cute he is.
Is that the cutest? How old is he now?
He is 3. In fact, you know what?
I mean, you've been in the thick of it with the pandemic, working full time, having this cookbook come out, a baby, a lot, right?
I just don't enjoy sleep, clearly. So
who needs sleep?
Who needs sleep? So so this is one batch of dough, which can make 2 medium-sized loaves of challah, I would say, or you can turn it into rolls. Challah dogs, another favorite that I make weekly. But today I thought I was going to show you my favorite braid, which is a 4-strand braid, which I think is the most beautiful and bakes up the nicest. And then I thought I'd show you something new I've been doing. I haven't featured it anywhere. It's a take on my own cinnamon raisin challah, but it's like a stuffed cinnamon raisin challah. When I flavor challahs, I like to add the ingredients right into the dough. I think it infuses the flavor more nicely. So whether it's savory or sweet, and I like to add vanilla and cinnamon right into the dough, but not everybody wants a sweet challah. Everybody wants something different, at least certainly in my house. So this has been like sort of my new compromise on how to make a sweet challah for some people and then still keep some of it plain.
Okay, so we're gonna cut the dough in half, right?
We're gonna cut the dough in half. I'm using I'm gonna tilt this down a little bit. I'm using 2 of my favorite kitchen tools, a dough cutter or scraper, and a kitchen scale. Okay.
I'm not being that fancy. I'm just doing what I got here.
You do you. I'm gonna tell you my tips, but everyone should just do it the way that is comfortable for them.
This dough, just so everyone knows, I prepared this dough this morning and let it rise for a few hours. But you can do it the day before and put it in the fridge, right?
Absolutely. If you do it the day before, just make sure it's in a really good sized bowl or container and that it's covered. And that when you're ready to use it, I would let it sit at room temperature for about an hour, depending on the temperature outside or in your kitchen, so that when you bake it, it's not still cold inside, because then it might not give it enough rise, and it might be a little doughy inside. So that's a really important step if you do an overnight or slower rise.
Okay.
So I'm just lightly flouring my board, and I'm going to now we divided the dough in half, and now I'm going to divide it into 4 even pieces. Now I do use a food scale because the more even your strands, the more evenly they will bake, and also the more beautiful they will look. You know that concept with like face symmetry, that someone whose face is more symmetrical is considered more objectively beautiful. I mean, the same concept holds true for challah. So it will bake better if it's roughly more even, but it will also look more beautiful and symmetrical if you can get the strands to be.
Okay. Well, mine's not going to be as exact, but we'll see anyway.
Look, I have to give you the most professional tips that I can, right? That's what I'm here for.
I appreciate it, and we take these tips. We take them seriously here.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, so I'm just like kind of smushing them around a little bit.
So I always say to our viewers, there is math involved in baking. So you took the dough and you divided it into 2, and then you're going to take each half and divide it into 4.
Yeah, so that's what I did. So now I have 4. 1, 2, 3. There's a little bit of a glare in here from the sun. I'm sorry. Can you see okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so now I have roughly 4 even pieces of dough. And now what I'm going to do is I'm kind of punching the air out of it, and then I'm rolling it into a cylinder, and I'm kind of pinching it as I go because I don't want those air bubbles. And then I'm going to roll it a little bit. This is like about 6 inches long, and I'm going to set it aside.
That's each piece you're doing that with?
Each piece I'm doing this with. So I'm kind of rolling it out into a cylinder, pushing out the air with my fingers, and then rolling it into just for now, like a 6-inch rope snake.
Okay, you make it look so easy.
It's just practice. Practice. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When you do something over and over again.
Look at Shannon's side of the screen. Don't look at mine as much.
Here's the thing about challah is that even if it's imperfect and even if it doesn't look perfect, it doesn't matter. Fresh homemade bread is always delicious.
I know.
And that's all that matters, you know? So
yeah, I did a reel first. I made this the other day to prepare. And I did the traditional braid of 3. So I'm excited to see what we're doing with 4.
So the thing about a 3-strand braid, which I hear a lot, is that it pulls apart, right? Why is it pulling? And there's a couple reasons. And actually, Cheryl, who I shared before, has given me some really fantastic braiding tips over the years. But I find that a 3-strand, or any of the braids that expand out, because they're all in one layer across, you end up with a flatter challah. I know you can't see my face right now.
It's okay.
You end up with a flatter challah, and the bake is not as good. It's not as fluffy. But with a 4-strand or a 6-strand, which braids it on top of one another, and you'll see in a minute what I mean, you're rising up instead of out, and so it does result in a much fluffier and taller challah, which I think is just a better taste and a better bite. So
yeah. Okay.
Now that those 4 strands rested a little bit, I'm going to roll them out just a touch more, and I'll give you an approximation of how long I'm rolling them. I would say probably about 12 inches.
And you're rolling all by hand. I mean, you're not using
I'm rolling by hand. I'm using even, not hard pressure. I'm not pushing into it with my fingers. I'm applying even pressure with kind of the palm of my hand, or what do they call it? The heel of your hand, just very light and even, so that it's the same thickness all the way across. And then, because it's pretty and I learned it from Bread's Bakery, I'm just tapering the ends a little bit. You can do that or not. See,
what are you doing to the ends?
I'm tapering the ends.
Okay. Oh, from Bread's Bakery you learned that?
I did, yeah.
I love their rugelach.
They used to have a head baker. Her name was Kelly Jacques. She went on to open her own bakery. But I took a couple of different classes with her over the years, and she was just so fun to learn from. And I carry a lot of the knowledge that I learned from her still.
Every time I'm in this city, I always stop there to get something.
It's awesome. It's hard not to, right?
Right.
There's a kiosk across from our office in Times Square. So
awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
I say that's my new Magnolia Bakery. I used to always stop at Magnolia Bakery, who actually love Magnolia Bakery, and we had the founder on our show, which was really fun.
That's awesome.
That's become Bread's to me. So
I'll tell you, one of my other favorite bakeries in the city is Ole and Steen. It's a Danish bakery.
Okay.
And there is a location by both Bread's locations also. So the next time you're picking up rugelach, then you have to go to Ole and Steen, and you have to try the raspberry slice.
Okay.
Raspberry slice. It's like a fancy Pop-Tart. It's amazing. Right.
Very cool. Those are your offices for the Nosher, you're saying, in the city?
Yeah. We have a WeWork space in Times Square.
Okay, cool.
Please don't stop me.
Yeah.
I'm
okay.
Okay. How's it going? How are you doing?
I'm almost there. I'm like, this is work.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I know. It's not easy.
Yeah, but it's good. I think I'm pretty good.
Good. I'm glad. So then when we have all 4 of our strands, I'm going to gather them together. I'm going to tilt it down a little bit. You want them to be roughly the same length. You want them to be roughly the same width, because we're going for as even as possible.
Okay.
And then here's another little trick that Cheryl taught me. Cheryl, I love you. I learned so much from you too. She puts the dough scraper to weight it down at the top. So I'm gonna. Okay. No, other way. Okay, this way. All right. So I'm gathering all these little pointed tips at the end, up here at the top, and then I'm gonna weight it down with this dough scraper here.
Okay. So it sort of sticks together. It's your base.
Yes, you definitely want it to stick together at the top. And the other thing I will say is that you want a loose braid. I know it's very counterintuitive. It's not like braiding hair. You don't want it super tight. You want to keep it loose. And why?
I'm just remembering all the times I braided my daughter's hair. She's like, make it tighter, make it tighter. One of her eyes was like higher than the other.
Poor kid. She's survived though.
She's a trooper. Yeah.
You want to keep the braid loose because the dough is still going to rise. So if you braid it really tight, you're not giving it any space to rise, and that's why you have that pulling action. But if you keep your braid a little bit loose, you're allowing the space for that dough to still rise. So you're starting with the right to the left, and then you're going to go left to the right. So I'm kind of flipping this up and over to the left.
And you're putting it all the way to the left.
All the way to the left.
Okay.
And then the one that's now second to the left is going over all the way over to the right. Okay. So now we have kind of a pathway down the middle, and one to the right and one to the left. The one that was now to the left, we're putting it down the middle.
The one that was to the left is putting it down to the middle. Got it.
Okay. Now the one that's second to the right, that one is now going all the way to the left.
Got it. A lot of math.
Now I'm sort of scooching this one over, and I'm making a pathway again for this one that's over to the right. So the one that's all the way over to the right, we're bringing it down the middle.
Got it. Sensing a pattern.
And then you're just going to keep repeating. So the one that's second to the left now is going to go all the way to the right. And now you have this path down the middle. So the one that's already to the left, you're going to flip it down
to the middle.
To the middle.
And then the one that's all the way, to the left goes back to the middle, and then you start with the right.
The one that's all the way to the second to the right is actually going to go over to the left. Okay. And then that one that's all the way to the right is going down the middle.
Got it.
And then you're just repeating. And what happens is the more that you do this, your hands are going to develop a muscle memory.
You're
not even going to think about it, and then it's going to be done.
Right. Okay.
All right. So and then what you can do is you can just like pinch it a little bit on either side and roll it a little bit, make sure it's even. And that's it. And now this is going to rise a second time for 30 minutes.
Right. And that's a key point in your book, that it's risen already from the actual putting together of the dough, but then you let it rise again for about 25 minutes, like you said.
You always want a second rise. And the truth is that with almost any yeasted dough that you're going to make, donuts, babka, challah, bread, you're always doing multiple rises. You need to give it that time to add the lift into it. You don't want dense dough.
So should we put this on the baking sheet now?
So I'm putting this on one baking sheet lined with parchment.
Okay, I have my parchment paper ready. Yep.
Great. Yeah, it's good. It's good to go, and we can set this aside. Okay. Done. One challah is done. So in 30 minutes, we're going to do an egg wash, which is just either egg yolks or beaten egg on top. And then it will go into the oven at 375. I bake mine for about 22 to 24 minutes. But everyone's oven is different. So
I did it last time for 25 minutes, but I may have overdone it. I'm not sure.
Look, unless you're getting like the most top-notch oven, which I'm not. This is the oven I inherited, and it's crap. You're going to want to monitor your oven, and you might even want to. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We've had doorbells. I'm grabbing a knife right now, actually, while you're dealing with the dog.
Great. Well, we're about to get an influx of children.
Great.
So sometimes if you're not sure that your oven is accurate, you can buy one of those little temperature. What are they called?
Thermometers.
Thank you.
Big word.
And measure the accuracy of your oven, and then you'll know how to adjust it if it needs to actually be hotter or actually the temperature brought down a little bit. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna roll this out. It's almost gonna remind you of doing cinnamon buns, but we're gonna.
This is the second one we're doing. We're rolling it out. Yeah.
The second one we're gonna roll this out, and actually I have to grab my rolling pin to do this.
I need to grab a rolling pin too.
Perfect. Pause for rolling pins.
Okay. Pause. I love it.
You can come join me if you want. Yeah.
For our viewers, I hope you didn't see my my braid was definitely not as good as Shannon. So.
Do you want to make challah with me?
I'm learning. Shannon's kids are just getting home from school. I love this.
You want to make challah with me? Yeah. Okay, you have to come join me.
I love this. My daughter could be home from school soon, but she said she was going to see it.
Okay, you on the other side of me. You on the other side of me. Okay.
Hello.
This is Billy. Can you
Hi,
say hi,
Billy.
my friend Rachel?
Hi.
Rachel hosts a baking show, and you're on the show right now. So if you want to be on the show right now, then there's no yelling or screaming or whining or fighting with your brother. Okay? Or you can go watch TV in the other room. Your choice. Okay, bye-bye. This is Jude. Jude, you want to say hi?
How are you? I've heard a lot about you from just all your stuff.
What did you want to say, Bub?
I want to say, a playroom water high.
Okay. Do you want me to cut this into pieces so you can braid it? Yeah, okay.
In 2 pieces.
I think we need to cut it in 3 pieces.
So do your kids help you bake a lot?
They do. Jude, do you like to bake with me? What do you like to make? What did we make last weekend together?
We made chocolate cookies.
We made chocolate cookies.
Chocolate chip cookies are my favorite.
Well, I'm a really inappropriate mom, so these were rum-soaked crinkle cookies.
I love it. That's amazing.
From one of my new favorite cookbooks. I'll show it to you. All right, now you got to roll them into snakes, remember?
Snakes. Wait,
Okay.
so did we roll this? We're rolling ours out.
We're going to roll ours out. I'm going to start by making a filling.
Okay.
And you can use this method for any filling that you like. We're going to make a cinnamon brown sugar filling, but you could do pesto with this. You could do tomato and cheese.
Mommy, I did it.
You're doing a great job. Okay.
Billy's doing a better job than I am.
Set this one aside, and then we'll braid that one when we're all done. So Rachel,
I'm sorry, Jude.
No, it's okay.
Right.
Look at this kid.
I know.
So cute.
Mommy.
Yes.
Mommy, I didn't have a good day at my school.
You didn't have a good day at your school?
Yeah,
Why?
BB's probably hit me again.
Okay. Well, did you tell your teacher?
No.
No. Okay.
We're gonna have to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, the butter you're using, does that soften?
This is a stick of softened margarine. You
Okay.
can also use butter. And then I added.
Mommy.
Now you have to be quiet because mommy's.
What did you add to it?
I added a half a cup of brown sugar,
Okay.
and then we're gonna add some spices, and then the raisins, and then this is gonna serve as a filling.
I have cinnamon sugar, so I might braid this one and put the cinnamon sugar on top, and then on the other one, I'm gonna use the Trader Joe's everything bagel.
Yes. Oh my god, I love that. So
Love
it's
that.
perfect. That's my favorite topping for challah, but my kids don't. My kids don't like it as much. They don't like all the sweet. Yeah.
Mommy,
No, I love
Good job. Okay.
I like it. It comes right home and comes right to baking.
Can you help me do that?
Yes, of course. All right. So we're gonna pinch it at the top. Okay, and then you show me how you braid it. You bring one over the middle. Okay, good job. And then you have to take this one and put it down the middle. This one, the other one, this one. Okay, good job. And now this one goes down the middle like that. Okay, and then take this one, and then we're gonna pinch it. Oh my God, do you want to show Rachel now your challah?
You said that's amazing.
Good job.
Yeah, like 5 minutes.
Halloween sprinkles on that.
You want to put Halloween sprinkles on it. Okay, let's let it sit and rise for a little bit, and then when we're ready to do the egg wash. Okay, can you mix that for me? Great, thank you so much. So I have a half a cup of brown sugar. I'm adding a pinch of salt, and then I'm going to add some cinnamon, a little bit of cardamom, and cloves. But you can just do cinnamon. I just like that extra touch of good job. Mix, mix, mix.
This sounds amazing.
You can also use a cafe Hawaii spice for this, which is in my book in the back by the apple tahini crumble. There's two.
Oh my God, the apple tahini crumble. That's a whole other situation because I don't like apple cake either. So we have to talk about that.
Yes, I know. Apple cake and honey cake is so traditional, but it just is not my jam.
I know.
Mom, I want to mix it with you.
Okay, well, you got to mix it. You got to. Oh, we're going to do it together. Okay, let's mix it together.
I didn't know we were allowed to bring assistants today. Sorry.
Well, no.
Maybe you'll come on my next show and help me.
Well, my oldest one has a play date right now, but she is the very experienced cook in this house.
My daughter likes to help bake too.
Mommy.
Oh,
Yeah.
so special. It really is.
I'm 16 already. I'm missing my son right now.
My own challah, this is me.
Who's gonna make their own challah just like you?
Boo will.
Boo Boo is. It's okay. She wanted to go chill out in the other room. And then the last thing we're gonna add, which is optional, but I love it. We're gonna do a little bit of vanilla, like a half a teaspoon.
Love it.
Okay.
And this is going to be the filling for the challah.
This is going to be the filling. So
Okay.
now over here, we have our dough that was just sitting, and we're going to roll it into a rectangle.
Okay.
And we do want the dough to be kind of an even layer. It's not going to be perfect, but as even as we can be. So when I'm rolling any kind of dough out, whether it's a cookie dough or a pie crust,
Mommy, Mommy,
yes.
are we doing this on the dough?
We are going to do this on the dough, but I'm not ready for it yet. Well, I mean, you have so much experience baking. I like to pull it up as I'm rolling something out so it doesn't stick to
The surface.
surface. Yeah.
It can be tricky with pie crust.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Can you what? You want to taste it?
Yeah.
Okay, you taste it and tell me if it tastes okay.
That's the best part.
Is it good?
Mommy,
Yes.
are you actually going to eat that tomorrow?
We're gonna eat it tonight when we go to our friend's house for Shabbat.
Whose house?
We're gonna go to Jules' house. Remember, I told you. Okay, now we got to spread. So now you can see okay, Jude, you need to let Mommy.
I'm going off book here, and I'm braiding this one too because I don't have the filling.
I'm sorry, Rachel. I was like, let's do this fun one. So it's in a rectangle. It's probably about 14 inches wide.
Mommy,
Yeah.
are you rubbing it now?
I'm gonna rub the filling, and then you're gonna do the raisins. Deal?
Okay.
Okay, good teamwork. All right. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. This is our youngest guest appearance.
I'm so glad.
We've had people come on who have done cookbooks for kids and all different things.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's so nice. Well, I do think it's so special. I love being in the kitchen with my kids and baking with them. And I spent a lot of time in the kitchen with my mom growing up. So I do like them to have that memory.
That's going to be good.
It's going to be good. Are you going to eat it later?
Yeah.
So
Do you make challah every Friday?
I do make challah almost every Friday. I do. I like it. It's very it doesn't feel right when I don't have time to make it, but
I know all the raisins until I put them on.
Perfect. Do you make challah a lot, Rachel?
I do make challah. I don't make it every Friday, but I do make it. I actually had on the show about a year ago Beth Riccanati, who wrote a book called Braided.
Yes, yeah.
It's a really cool story. How she was a doctor and she sort of rediscovered, I would say, her spirituality and her wellness through braiding or through baking every Friday.
It's so nice. I mean, I do think it feels very sort of like sacred and ritualistic.
Mommy, next time I'm back.
So you're spreading the filling throughout the whole rectangle.
I spread an even layer of the filling all over the challah, and now we're gonna add the raisins on top. Jude, now it's your turn. Okay, you got to do it. And then we're gonna roll it up almost like a cinnamon roll, and then snake it around like a round Rosh Hashanah style challah. And then when it bakes up, first of all, it's gonna smell ridiculous. And second of all, when you cut into it,
Mommy, give me the phone.
okay, I'm sorry. It's gonna look like like a swirl, like cinnamon swirl bread kind of. And
Very
so
cool.
instead of the raisins and the cinnamon being in the dough themselves,
Mommy,
it's kind of a cinnamon swirl challah.
Mommy.
And you can do chocolate chips too, right?
Absolutely, you could do chocolate chips with this. And I've done the same method, but done Nutella and then mini chocolate chips on top.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a chocolate babka challah combination.
It's so funny that you said babka because not to be promoting, but next Saturday on the baking show, I'm having author Linda Loigman on. Her book was The Matchmaker's Gift. And there's a babka in the story.
Oh, awesome.
Daddy ate raisins and
You're gonna tell Daddy that we ate all the raisins?
No, do not tell him.
I won't tell him.
A little bit of raisins.
I won't tell him. It'll be our secret. So now I'm just kind of pushing the raisins into the dough just lightly because I want to make sure that it stays. You can eat as much as you want. And now I'm going to start working on the end closest to me. Okay. And I'm going to use my fingers to just roll this up. I think that the pioneer woman calls this like the typewriter method, where you're like, roll. I don't know why she calls it that, but I remember her saying that. So I'm rolling this whole thing up. Right. You can kind of see some of the raisins peeking out here. And I'm going to pinch it closed on one end. I'm going to pinch it closed on the other end. And then I'm pinching it over here on the side where you can still see the seam. I roll it out one more time, just a little bit.
Which one more the black?
That is a good idea. We're going to have to add the more raisins to our shopping list because we ate almost all of them.
No.
And then I'm snaking it around, and that's it. So
that's how you make the round challah.
That's one way you can make the round challah. And I think it's the easiest way. Yeah. And you don't even have to stuff it to do that. You can just make
one. You could just do it regular, and then you could put cinnamon sugar on top or whatever.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Okay, well, I have my 2 braideds here. That method you told me does sort of stick to your memory pretty quickly.
Mommy,
which one? The 4 one.
The 4. Yeah.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
Your hands just kind of like, oh, once you get the rhythm.
Yeah, it's like a muscle memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna wait. I'm seeing. Oh my god, I can't believe we've already been on for so long. It's going by so fast. We'll take some audience questions in a second. Maybe Jude will answer some of our questions. Yeah. How has your book tour been going on this book?
Oh, thank you, buddy. It's really kind of just kicked off, because of the Jewish holidays in September. Right. So I'm excited to travel. It's obviously it's hectic with 3 kids, and my husband travels also for work. Just don't choke, okay? Like, don't shove.
It took us till now to actually get together and do this, but I mean, putting a book is like a huge labor of love. I mean, the photographs are beautiful. What was that process like?
So the photography was all done by a dear friend of mine. We've been working together for 10 years. His name is Doug Schneider, and another friend, colleague for nearly that same amount of time. His name is Sherry Silver. I'm gonna have to send you.
Here he is.
You keep talking.
The spaghetti and meatballs.
Do you want to go in the other room with Clara and have your snack, or you want to stay in here with Mommy? Okay, then we have to be a little quiet, okay? Sherry Silver did some of the styling for me as well, and honestly, the process for the photos was like a little bit of a cluster because we're on a short timeline. So I'm still recipe testing, but we have to start taking photos in order to produce it. So it was a really hectic schedule. I basically took 2 days off once a month, starting in May, June, July, August. No, April, May, June, July. We did 4 shoots for 2 days. I spent 2 days prepping in my kitchen, and then we did shoots Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Friday,
Did
Saturday.
You do the shoots in your kitchen?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Not just we did it here in my kitchen, but also we closed up our physical offices of 70 Faces Media at the end of 2020. And there was stuff in the office that no one had claimed yet. And there's this amazing round marble table in our conference room, our tiny conference room. And no one claimed it. So I drove into the city and picked it up. And we did probably 60% of shooting the book on that marble table.
I love how he's whispering, Mommy. Yeah. That's awesome. It's so cool. Do we have any viewer questions for Shannon, Jude, me, anyone? If there are, anybody can pop them up in the chat. But I'm so happy we got this special guest. So yeah. So I don't know if we have any questions coming up. I'll wait to see. If not, we can just we probably have about like 15 more minutes of. I mean, we'll sign off before then, but before it's done the second rise.
Yeah, probably like around 3:00 we'll be ready.
So we want to know, I assume this is for Shannon and not Jude. What do you have in mind for your next book? Or can you even start to think about it yet?
Oh my God, it's like a kid. I just had the baby. I don't know. I can't start thinking about it yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
But I hope there will be a next one, and I hope I'm recovered by then.
Yeah, it's a lot. And then, but tell us about some of your work at the Nosher, kind of what you're doing there.
Yeah, it's exciting. Nosher is about to turn 11. So very, very proud of its growth over the last 11 years. And why am I holding an egg? Because in a few minutes we're gonna do the egg wash on the challah, and then we're gonna bake it so we can have it for Shabbat.
Mommy, can I have a little plate? Oh, some egg wash.
You can do the egg wash, yes. Yes, of course, yes.
Yeah. Wait, so speaking of your kids, which of your kids helps you with the baking the most? Is it Jude?
You know what? They all cycle in. It just it depends. My oldest is like, she's taking cooking classes and she's very into it. So she kind of like will be very hands-on and help. But the other two, who are 6 and 3, they love baking projects. And sometimes it's like they don't even care about eating it. They love doing it. So if we have a rainy day or a bored day, my middle daughter, who's 6, she loves to make brownies. So they really are all very hands-on.
Somebody wanted to know if you ever experimented with gluten-free baking.
Not of my own volition, not by choice. Look, during Passover, I'm a gluten lover, and I thankfully don't have any celiac. You're a gluten lover.
So cute.
I'm grateful I don't have any health issues. All right, you're gonna have to go in the other room. Clara, will you come take him? Okay, then you have to be quiet. You have to be quiet. I told you that was the rule. You're standing with me. You gotta be quiet. But during Passover, we do a lot of flour-free baking, and I do like experimenting with almond flours and coconut flour and finding creative ways to, not have any flour in dessert. So my own personal rule is kind of like to go for recipes that don't require a whole lot of substitutions.
Right.
And that usually yields the best result and the things that are most delicious. Instead of trying to recreate, crazy cakes or something like that, I tend to go a little bit simpler and find things that already don't need a ton of flour to replicate.
For sure. Actually, I saw in your book that you have a recipe for macaroons for Passover where you dip the chocolate, or where you put in the chocolate chips. You inspired me. I think I might submit a story to Nosher about these fully chocolate coconut macaroons that are a long-standing recipe in my family. And
I love that idea. Yes.
Macaroon person. So we have another question here. Do you experiment with vegan baking?
I will say that it's not. Oh my God, it's like my worst nightmare happening. Jude, you have to go with Claire.
This is a total. This is life. This is life in the. There we go.
You're not being quiet. I love you. Vegan baking is not really my thing. I think vegan baking is probably almost harder than gluten-free baking because of the eggs. But I know there's a lot of amazing people for whom that's their specialty. So
for sure. And we had a gluten-free baker on the show once. We're having a vegetarian baker. There's definitely different things. And I'm traditionally like a traditional baker, but if I have some kind of allergy, or my husband's actually allergic to certain nuts, which is just used to that. Yeah.
Me too, actually.
What'd you say? You really?
Yeah.
Tree nuts, or?
I'm allergic to cashews and pistachios, like the best of the nuts.
He's allergic to cashews and walnuts and pecans. I can't believe I got that right. No one ever does. Everyone forgets. Yeah, no. So it's interesting. Can you, before we sign off, I'm just curious because I read a little bit about your background with an Italian side of the family and Ashkenazi Jewish. How did you get, and you said you're not a classically trained baker, neither am I, or journalist, neither am I. How did you get into becoming the editor of The Nosher and writing all these wonderful cookbooks and doing all the cool work you do?
That's so nice. It's a very zigzagging path. I always try, I was not somebody who was like, I want to be this, and then I went out and did it. I grew up performing. My parents were both professional musicians. It was my dream to be on Broadway. My mom died when I was a teenager, and it really sort of changed the course of my life. And I started really exploring what my Jewish identity meant to me. And challah was one of the ways in which I did that. And then after college, and when I I was working for the Samuel Bronfman Foundation in New York as eventually the communications manager, but really as an assistant. And I was doing a lot of work to explore social media and nonprofits and how they would tell their stories online. And my wonderful boss at the time, Donna, who I dedicated the first book to, she really encouraged me to work on my writing, and the foundation really supported me in that journey. And I took continuing education classes in journalism, writing, and social media strategy. And so I really entered the food media space with an expertise in social media, and had started blogging completely as like a hobby side project to work on my writing. And a year into doing that, it's a very, very loose hobby. MyJewishLearning.com came to me and said, we want to launch some blogs. Would you like to do a food blog with us? And I was like, absolutely. So it was not full-time work by any stretch. I had a full-time job at the time. So I was doing that on the side, and then slowly, the scales tipped over several years, and we've been growing the Nosher really, ever since, working with our ever expanding, amazing staff. And when the opportunity to write the first cookbook came up, I was very excited at the chance to have a book. I mean, it was not something I thought like, I want to write a cookbook. So it was really all like, you look back and you're like, oh, these things make sense in hindsight. My grandfather was a chemist, and I did love writing, and I was a voracious reader growing up. So it sort of makes sense now looking back, but it was really just like building on my own skill sets and what I was good at and what I was passionate about, and just like really working my absolute butt off, working 2 jobs at the same time, and then writing cookbooks in my free time to bang it all out.
In all your free time.
I have a lot of free time.
You just see about all the free time you have. Yeah.
Yes, you just experienced it. Yeah.
Totally. I get it. Been there. Yeah. So this is amazing. I love hearing the background, because I think a lot of our lives and careers kind of have zigzags like that. Yeah. So are you still doing the podcast at all?
Well, the podcast has been on hiatus. I hope maybe one day we'll be able to pick it back up. But yeah, not currently. But I did see Jordana just last week, 2 weeks ago.
All right. Hi, Jordana, mutual friend. No, it's fun. It's all good. And I'm glad you get to come on, shows like this. So I so appreciate your time. It was so much fun. And after these rise a little bit more, and after I put them in the oven, I will definitely post some pictures and tag you so everybody can see what they're like. And I hope you have a good Shabbat. I also wanted to say for our viewers, our scheduling is a little off. I'll be back next Saturday. I normally do this on Saturdays with Linda Cohen-Loigman, a wonderful historical fiction writer. We're going to be talking about The Matchmaker's Gift, which is a novel about a grandmother and a granddaughter in a different generation, and how their lives sort of intersect in what they do. And we're baking a recipe called the Tilly cake. It's her grandmother's Tilly cake, but there is a babka storyline. I mentioned that. So
that's awesome. Well, thank you for making the exception and joining me in my chaotic kitchen on a Friday afternoon to make the challah.
I loved it. We sometimes do Friday, and this was just perfect. I mean, here you are in the middle of your work day, in the middle of your kids getting home from school day, and it works. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you so much. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in for another show. We really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.